Hey there guys, here's my 2020 Jetson Bolt Pro. Just showing the modifications and a quick review after long term. Hopefully it's not too noisy here, and pardon the ghetto background. Just trying to find a deserted place without people. So right now I have over 3,000 kilometers on this Jetson Bolt. I purchased it in 2020 in November. It's survived the COVID pandemic, and it's been really a fun little machine. I have a more expensive e-bike, but I still like going back to this guy. It's very fun, very compact. You can bring it into stores. They don't give you trouble. The main things I've had to do for maintenance are I've had to replace the tires 2 times. So this is a brand new set from AliExpress. About 40 bucks for the pair, and you can have there's tubes that also can come with it as well. And the key thing is you want to get the bent valve stem so that you can reach this one. Otherwise you can't fit with the motor in the way. Okay, so the original tread is the 2020 tread. It's more of a diamond shape pattern. Then in 2021 and afterwards, they switched to this pattern here. And I've had to replace my original 2020 tread with another one, and was able to find the exact same match on AliExpress. So it's the OEM CST brand, and it's exactly the same. But you can't see any more Jetsons with these. You don't see many of the 2020s anymore. So I have no idea where they got this one from. This is also a CST brand. And this is one of the replacements I had for my 2020, which was from Amazon. So it's a Bell tire with a BMX tread. It did not last very long at all. This is the front, but the rear was worn very much so. So don't use this tread, and it decreases range too. And the way you can tell your Jetson is a 2020 is if you go down over here, it tells you right up here in the corner. It's hard to see, but it says 08-2020. And I've noticed with the 2020 models, they're actually the motor is actually more powerful. There's more torque. So when you're doing pedal assist, you don't have to put as much effort in, and you're going a lot faster actually as well. I have a 2021 as well, and this one is more powerful. Back to back, I can tell, and it has the same range too on the stock battery. And then I also had a 2022, and they actually neutered the performance of that one, so it was even less torquey than the 2021. And I had a drag race actually with this 2020 and a 2021, and this one just totally destroyed the 2021, which was hilarious because I have so many accessories on it, as you can see. So yeah, the 2020 had the strongest motor. I don't know what they changed. Either maybe they downgraded the motor, or they changed the controller in it inside, but or even the battery. But definitely the 2020 is the most powerful. And I've tested with my other friends who have Jetsons as well. They have some 2021s, and 2021 was around the border when the performance was either similar or slightly less. But there was definitely a change in 2022 because the performance decreased quite a bit. But yeah, it's survived a few years already now. It's 2023. I've taken it in the winter time, driving in the snow, not too deep snow. It's been fun. Just have to be careful for the bearings, and also just the bolts. Make sure nothing gets too rusted, just from the salt. There's a leaf blower of all things. So let's start going over some of the mods that I originally did, things that are useful and things that are just a bunch of garbage and I don't recommend. As you can see, it's super cluttered. There's a few things I would not do again, but it was during COVID times and I had lots of time on my hands, so this was my hobby. So starting from the top, you can see the handlebar here is super packed. So what do we have on it? We got the camera mount for my Osmo Action, and we have 3 lights. The New bowler from AliExpress. This is a very, very bright floodlight if you need to see everything around you. This is a Lumentop B01. It has a good focus beam, so it cuts off, and it also doesn't decrease in brightness over the 3-hour lifespan. These other two, they'll decrease after 10 minutes. You'll notice it's a big difference, but this one will stay steady and constant. And then we have the E-by-Fire, that's from Amazon. It's a nice little starter light, and it's good just to have. I have a few of these on my other bikes. And this one here, the New Bowler and the E-by-Fire are both power banks as well, so you can charge your devices. This is 10,000 milliamps, this is 5,000 milliamps. And on the brakes, I just have silicone covers just for extra grip. As you can see, a little bit dinged. And what happened here was I fell down a couple times. If you have a Jetson, it's not a rite of passage until you fall down, because it's such a narrow wheelbase and really twitchy steering. And on the top we have these bar end mirrors, so you had to drill in to here, and then you can just put a screw in. So that's the Hafni mirrors. Those are metal. It's good to the metal because I've dropped it. I've mentioned a few times. It didn't crack. Let's see. There's some battle scars already. And on the back end here, you have just a phone holder. So using the vertical stem, little horn. So just more for fun, really. And this big one right here, this is the big horn. You can see that's really, really loud. I use that against cars because people in Vancouver can't drive. And to mount this light, it's just a bracket. I don't run all these lights at once, but it's nice to have a few spares. Okay, so here are my lights. So on the bottom, we have the ground effects kind of down facing lights. So it's just a Don Pellegrino red and blue light. And we have a rainbow light over here from AliExpress. And on the rear is just another Don Pellegrino. And on the front up here, we have the E-by-Fire, the Lumentop B01, and the New Bowler, which is a 4 LED flood. So here it is with all of them on right now. Quite bright. And there's also a turbo mode. Double tap. Double tap. As you can see, that's quite bright. And then what you can also do too is I have a headlamp here. So that's on, and that also has a turbo. So you can see all around. Let's turn off the headlamp here. And here it is just with turn off the New Bowler and turn off the Lumentop. And this is just the E-by-Fire. That's what that beam looks like. Very focused beam. In the middle we have the Lumentop. So that has like a dual kind of beam. So on the bottom is a spread, and on the top is a focus cutoff beam so you don't blind people. So that's the middle one. Turn that off. And on the right we have the New Bowler flood. So that's just a flood beam that will blind anybody. So I only use this when I'm by myself in the forest. You don't want to blind anyone on the bike paths. And what I also have is a helmet light. So I can swivel around and see anything. You got two pivots. You got the bike and then you got the helmet. So it's nice to look around corners. I don't know if you can see that. Super bright. And there's also a turbo mode. So that's quite bright. And this is one of my favorite things. This is a decathlon bag, and it just fit perfectly, just through here, through the handlebar. And what I use is it to pick up bubble tea for the missus, some groceries and whatnot. This is perfect actually. It's just not water resistant, but it's very handy. On the front here, it's just some hand sanitizer and a bear bell. So what I use the bear bell for when I'm biking, at least people can hear you coming up. So hopefully they're not too oblivious with their phones and they can hear you. And as we move down, this is also one of my favorites. It's the B-Sole bag. So I put my keys and my wallet here. So it's perfect because it's right handy and you can tell if it's going to fall down. If you drop anything, you'll know right away, rather than something else where it's like behind you and you don't notice. I wouldn't get these guys again. These are just cheapy LED lights. I don't really use them. And down here we have this X-Tech semi-hydraulic brakes. So it still uses a cable, but it's actually hydraulic on the inside for the pads. So those use hydraulic force, but it's still using your cables. So you can still use your, it's just plug and play essentially. And I didn't really need to change these brake pads because the stocking performance between these and the stock pads are the same. The only thing is these have a lot less pad wear. On the stock ones, the pads would go through really, really fast. And it only wears on one side on the stock pads, just by design. So I like these. It's a firmer brake feel, but the stopping performance is the same. And I replaced these fenders. So these fenders are from AliExpress, about $14 for the pair. They fit mostly okay. Just had to bend a couple of the support struts here because of these X-Tech hydraulic brakes. They're kind of getting in the way, but it mostly fits, I would say. You just have to bend it a little bit. And down here, just have another bear bell, you can see. And I have some underglow lights. So it's just a standard light, and it's aiming downwards. I got blue and I got red for underglow, which is pretty fun. And you have folding pedals. These are great. They've been really secure. More heavy duties than some of the other ones you see. The only thing I would say with the fenders is they rust a little bit, just from the screws. Make sure you also have, if you go through the snow and salt, put some maybe anti-corrosion ACF 50 on those, just those bolts. Yeah, so I've replaced the stock pads many times, and then I switched over to these semi-hydraulic brakes, and I haven't had to replace the pads yet, so it's a big difference. Up here you have just a water bottle holder, so it uses Velcro, and I put some zip ties as well. This is pretty good, I would say. And this is Amazon seat, about $30. It's quite comfy. And I had to replace the stock seat. So the stock seat's only 350 mm. Replace it with a 450. Actually, it's only 300 mm. This is a 450. So you get pedal extension. Otherwise, it's way too short, and then your knees start to hurt. And just all around, you have reflective tape. And then we go down to this wheel here, so you can see that's also hydraulic brake, semi-hydraulic. And this is actually a hitch for the Burley Bee trailer. So I put my kids in the back of a tow-along trailer, and this Jetson actually pulls them along on flats. Not the best on hills, but it'll carry, they're about 70 pounds total. And so for the hitch, I just had to mount the hitch actually upside down because it hits the stand. When you go it this way, it actually hits down here, so you put it upside down and it fits. And down here, I just have a Wildman bag. Didn't really need this one, but I just have some extra odds and ends in there, and a side flashing light. I also don't really use that as well. Just more extra more junk from AliExpress, I would say. Mounted the stock plate here, the stock fender onto this rack. So this rack is just a single post rack, so it just connects to the seat post. It's not the most secure, but this actually uses 4 bolts instead of a quick release, so it doesn't shift at all left and right. I had the ones with the quick release, and then what happens is it moves left and right. I just have a bag here just for tire repair kit, whatnot. And this guy here, this is actually a battery. So that's just my secondary battery with a quick switch. Okay, had to change locations because that leaf blower came back. So this is a secondary battery. This is a Ardu 12.8 amp hour battery, 38 volt from AliExpress. I wouldn't recommend them anymore because they switched out cells. They used to be LG cells, now they're selling some no-name cells, and I have a friend who actually purchased an Ardu which was 14 amp hours, or it was 16, and he only got like an 8 amp hour when he tested it. So don't get those Ardus anymore. Get the CAOM from eBay. Calm, it's a brand. Shiva does it. Shiva uses them on his channel. Those are real batteries. I have a 14 amp hour Calm on my other Jetson. So there's a quick release quick switch here. So you have the Ardu in the front, the Jetson in the back. Stock, I used to get about 45 kilometers of pedal assist range on this Ardu. And I purchased this in 2021, so it's 2023 now, so about 2 years usage. I've had some degradation. I get about 37 kilometers of pedal assist range now, so it's decreased a little bit, but still not too bad. Back then it was about $150. Now they're charging at least like $230 or so, and they're not legitimate LG cells, and the capacity, they're now lying about it. So don't purchase any batteries from AliExpress anymore. Get them from CAOM. I'll put a link in the description below. And just going back here, there's just a bag, extra light that came with the seat. I don't run all those lights all at once. They're just more spare lights. So like, this is a necessity, not really required. Bottom ones are just for fun, for the down effect. Don't really use these ones. I wouldn't buy those again. The fronts, like I was saying, I don't use all 3 at once, but if I'm riding at night, say Stanley Park, which is super dark, then I would run all 3 at once. But yeah, over 3,000 kilometers on this little clown bike. It's been super fun. Just a single gear, so it's not the best on hills, but if you put a lot of effort, you can make it up a decent hill. For example, First Avenue near the East Vancouver sign, that's the steepest hill that this would climb, and you're pedaling all the way with full throttle at the same time. But on, I'm at 180 pounds, that's the limit. I wouldn't go any steeper than that. But this can make it to, on the stock battery, the stock Jetson, I get about 25 to 30 kilometers of pedal assist range. If you don't pedal at all and just do throttle only, it'll be half of that. And on the secondary battery, like I was saying, about 37 kilometers of pedal assist range as well. So like about 60 kilometers of range. It's a decent ride. You can go downtown, the seawalls, North Van if you wanted to. Yeah, it's super fun. Paid originally about $380 in 2020 for this. And yeah, like I was saying, only had to replace the tires twice because they got worn out, and the brake pads. Didn't have to replace anything else. And people ask me if I'll sell it. No, I'll keep it till it dies. And like I was saying, the 2020 models, they have the strongest motor. There's something that changed after 2021. They really neutered the performance. I feel you have to really push the pedals quite hard, and also it takes time to spool up as well. And on hills, you don't have as much torque as either. So I don't know what they did, but they decreased the quality. Because I did have a 2022 and I returned it. I thought it was just in my head, but then I compared it with other people, and yeah, they had some similar issues. Not a widespread, it's not a known thing, but with my local friends here with the little Jetson club, we've compared back to back and done little drag races, and there's definitely a change in the 2022s. 2021 is the borderline. You could have a good one, or it could be not that great for performance. But this is definitely the best quote-unquote money I've spent. I don't need to buy all these accessories. The main accessory I would say is get a secondary battery. That'll cost you about $200. After that, get lots of lights for the front and rear if you're biking at nighttime. If you don't bike at nighttime, you don't need all these lights, but you want to be seen. The bag is not really available anymore, but you can find something on AliExpress similar. And I really like this. That's good for your wallet and your keys. And folding pedals really helps for putting in your trunk so it's not flopping around. Well, one thing I forgot for a must-have, I would say, is the horn. You definitely need this horn, especially in Vancouver. What typically happens is you'll have some cars cutting you off, or if you're in an intersection and you're in the crosswalk, they'll just totally ignore their red light and go through, and they could run you over. Or they could also be going in the bike lane, or also just coming out of the intersection. Like if you're on the main street, they come up from the side street that's perpendicular and they just ignore the stop sign and just pull right out from the driveway. So I highly recommend having this loud horn. Oh, and just to mention, just like in overall, the build quality is quite good. It's very, very solid. Like the stem and the frame, and just the wheels themselves, the alloy wheels. I have no complaints. They've stood the test of time. The folding mechanism, I also just put some Velcro just in case, just so it doesn't open by accident. But everything is very, very solid. For the price that you pay, you would expect cheaper quality, but it's quite durable, I would say. I've crashed this, minor crashes, 2 or 3 times, where I fell down and the handlebars hit the ground. The only thing broke was my flashlights. Nothing on the frame broke. For general maintenance, I would recommend cleaning and lubing your chain, and also just putting some anti-corrosion on the main bolts. My chain is some slight rust, but not as bad as it could be, because I brushed off the rust and cleaned the chain, glued it up well. Cleaned everything down and put some anti-corrosion ACF 50 on it. But yeah, it's pretty maintenance free. Changing pads on the brakes is pretty easy. Changing the tire is not the funnest thing to do. It'll take you about 2 hours, mainly because you got to disconnect the motor from here. Actually, not disconnect the motor, but there's a cable. You have to take everything out here, disconnect the chain. It's not too bad. It's just a smaller tire, so it's not the easiest to work with. In my tires, I have flat out sealant, the Sportman formula, just in case I have a puncture, because you don't really want to change a tube on the road. You need all the tools, like the bolts and whatnot. It's going to take you at least an hour per tire. And the rear one has the motor, and it's more cramped. You don't want to change this on the road. You might as well just call a taxi, put this in the trunk, and then take it home. But hopefully flat out sealant. Haven't had any flats on the tires I had so far. And these are brand new tires from AliExpress. So they're the exact same matching tread, the CSTs. So overall, I would say the Jetson is still worth it for the price. For $350 on sale Canadian to $429 when it's regular price, You can't beat having an e-bike for that price. That's pretty much a price of a normal bike, except you have a motor in this one. So even though the 2022 models are not as fast as the 2020, if you didn't have a 2020, you wouldn't notice the difference. You still get pedal assist. It still helps you on the hills. It's a heck of a lot of fun too. And you can bring this into some of the stores, so you don't have to lock it outside and worry about it getting stolen. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please see the comments below. Just leave a comment and I'll respond. Thank you.